Again, this is kind of an informal session we're going to do tonight, just to help you guys like orient with your ACS, answer any questions. We'll probably go about a half hour or so, but whatever you guys need in terms of time, in terms of support. So like I said, we'll just give it another like minute or maybe 2 or 3 minutes, just let people jump on. How you doing? Did you start yet with your ACS? Have you done anything with it? How's that going for you?
It's going good. I'll save my questions for the actual like Q&A, but definitely have some questions after going through it for about a week now.
Okay, good. So you've been doing it
very,
for
very,
about a week.
very interesting device. The flashing is very surprising.
Yeah. We'll talk about that too. So yeah, all the questions and stuff like that. And I think, Blaine, we're recording this, right?
Yes, we're recording it, so we'll have that. We can send that link out to everybody for the recording afterwards.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think there'd be, for those, again, people are in different countries and different time zones, so this will just be, added benefit for people to be able to, watch it on demand. So
one of the thoughts I had for you, Dr. Rosenberg, for
Yep.
Farb, is obviously this is treating a lot of different eye issues.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, and that's one of the questions to get into, are there different protocols that are better for different eye issues? Like I have NAION, which you probably know because I've been trying to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And versus AMD versus all these other things. Is it all the same bucket? Or because I kind of looked through the FAQ and watched all the videos to try to see if anything was related to me specifically. And I saw the one where you could see an eye on one side and one pad and one pad off to the side, but that was it.
Right. Such a great question. Generally speaking, the ACS creates a global stimulation of the whole visual system. So what I mean by that is we have the eyeball, the retina, the macula, that whole retinal compartment, the vascular system, the nerve layer. It affects the Bruch's membrane, all the parts of the eye itself. Then we have the optic nerve that connects the eye to the brain, and then we have the visual cortex, and the last part of visual processing becomes in the prefrontal cortex, making sense of what we're actually looking at. So the frequencies have been studied probably over 10 or 15 years in Germany, and we found that these frequencies will absolutely, it's the best frequencies we know of right now that will just really get the entire visual system. So yes, if somebody has like one side eye issues, yes, there are different protocols right over the eyes, which are going to show when we put the pads over the eyes, that is the most direct stimulation that you're actually going to get. That said, if people are doing it 5-6 days a week, I recommend playing around with it, and you'll notice if one works better. So there's going to be that protocol side to it, and then we're also going to have what works for you, and that's going to have to be a little bit of a trial and error for each individual. So they may be like, all right, let me try on the eye and to the side, or maybe to the top and bottom, or maybe two on the top, maybe in the temples, maybe like one high, one low. So there is going to be what we recommend, but again, inside of that, everybody's going to kind of intuitively or subjectively feel what kind of works better for them. And sometimes mixing it up can help as well. For example, like when you do the temples, you're dilating different blood vessels than you are affecting here. So you're getting some of the muscle tension around the eyes, a lot of squinting, and it really creates a lot of tension in the temple muscles. Also, the muscles in the forehead get really tight as well. A lot of the nerves and the blood vessels come up through the bottom. So we're really trying to hit, like within the orbit, we want to hit all these blood vessels and acupuncture points, but we also have like these main veins and arteries around here that we want to help dilate and get the blood flow to help oxygenate the tissue. So the short answer to your question is yes, there's the protocol, but play around with it.
Experiment. Okay.
Yeah, because it is kind of new like that. And we are, although I've been doing this for a while, putting it out on this level, we are asking, people to kind of play around with it because it is totally safe. to kind of alter or adjust the different placements of the pads, and then give feedback. Like that really helps us too, because if I have, 10 people say with Nayan, and probably like, yeah, I really did feel it better when it was on the side and in the front, or if I did one eye at a time versus both. So that's going to be kind of like field testing and empirical feedback that we're going to get from people, that it is really important. And over the next, 3 years or so, we expect to get a lot more feedback from patients. And again, that'll help us refine and create more specific protocols. Is that clear?
Yeah, no, that helped out.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's jump in for you guys who are watching this on the replay as well. We're going to go through real quick. We're going to go through the parts of your ACS, how to use it. It's very, very simple. You guys should be pretty familiar with that, but we want to review. So, of course, you have your ACS unit here. This bumper is just that. It's a bumper to help protect in case you drop it or it falls. It's going to happen. It's going to fall off the table. It's going to, you're going to drop it, mishandle or something like that. And the plastic is very, very sturdy, but we wanted to add an extra layer of protection for you guys because you did invest in this unit. So we want to make sure that it works and it stays kind of insulated from damage to the best that we can do that. So the first thing you're going to do is put the bumper on, when you get it. So again, to help protect it, you want the top opening to the top over here. The bottom is going to be solid. Again, this is just to get the next thing we're going to look at, which is your cords. All right, this is your leads. All right, you're going to have a black end and you're going to have a red end over here. We're going to take the other end that you're going to see here, and we're going to plug that right in here like so. Make sure that's in really good. Okay, so now we have this. The next thing we're going to look at is you guys have 2 discs, right? 2 discs that look like this. Again, one for each side. And now one thing we're starting to notice that I want to mention too is, so we are using saline solution with the ACS unit. And anybody who lives near the ocean knows that salt can degrade metal and plastic and rubber through a process called oxidation. So some folks have had, who are frequently using these can wear down at some point. Might be a year, might be 2 years, could be 6 months. If the connection isn't good, that's one of the first questions we're going to be asking you guys. So I'm kind of giving you a heads up on this. If you have any technical issues with the sensation or the flashes or whatever you're experiencing, if that starts to die after a while, now look, your body is going to build up a not a resistance, but you're going to adapt to the stimulation. So you may put it on over your eyes, especially earlier stages when you're going with the lesser settings or the milder settings. After maybe 5 minutes or so, or even 10 minutes, you may feel like you don't feel it anymore. Is it still on? What happens is your body adapts to the stimulation. So the stimulation doesn't change, your body just adapts to it. So it's kind of important just for you guys to understand that. But again, if you see anything happening, on rare occasions, we need to replace the leads, which we'll do sometimes. But 8 out of 10 times, it is these that can start to just weather from the repeated use, and again, just keeping the salt on it. So one thing you can do to help reduce the aging of these or the oxidation is to rinse them. So after you use the device, you can pop these off real quick, just rinse them under tap water, dry them off, leave them on a paper towel or something like that, and that'll get the salt off. Because again, if you get salt inside these little holes here over time, and you have a metal pin in there, the metal can start to erode the inside of this. So that's what we're talking about there.
And Andy, Dr. Andy, another tip that I'm starting to see is probably going to be helpful is when you wash those out, just kind of like basically rub the salt off of them, because it appears it's collecting on those pads, and it'll just increase the longevity a little bit.
Yep.
We know they need to be replaced every once in a while, but if we can get a little bit more life out of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it's no big deal to replace if we have to, and we know that we probably will at some point, but just to got to get a little bit more mileage out of these. Thanks, Blaine. I really appreciate that. So yeah, you want to like kind of use your thumbs a little bit, and maybe if you have a little washcloth or something like that, not too much because we don't want to damage it, but just enough to get the saline off. So that's that part. Yeah.
Are you rinsing the sponges as well, or just the pads?
Getting there. Yep. Yes, absolutely. It's going to be the same thing. So again, so now we have it set up. We have our device. We put the bumper on to protect it. We have our lead plugged in over here. We put the pins into the discs, and these discs are going to hold your sponges. So these are your sponges. You're going to get a little baggie like this. We get 2 flat little sponges that look like that. Okay, these are going to be replacing. You're going to get a few of them in your kit, and we have an ample supply of these. So generally, these will last about a month, maybe a little longer, maybe a little lesser by depending on how much time you spend using the device. But yes, so we're going to put these in here like that. Okay, so we just basically put them in here like so, like that. Okay, so they're going to look like that. Now you have your device here. Before I wet them, I'm going to show you what I want you to do. So after you use it, these are going to be wet. You're going to pop these out, and as Justin mentioned, we want to rinse these. That'll help the life of these sponges as well. So if you rinse these in tap water and just kind of use your fingers to dry them out, I usually put them back in the bag. It'll keep them, from when they dry and they get wet and dry and wet and dry and wet and dry. That also can create some stress. So this will leave them in a mildly damp state inside the bag. So it's a good place to store them. So you take them out, and again, you're also not getting the salt to corrode on this as well. So these are just some maintenance tips. And then you let them sit in the bag until your next use. You'll take them out. They'll be slightly damp, so they're going to be easier to get in. Sometimes if you take these sponges out, and you leave them out and they dry out, they can be a little bit difficult to get back into these things. So again, if they're a little bit moist and they stay in the little bag, it's a lot easier to get them in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is you guys have your own saline solution that you received. When you're done, just get, the brand doesn't matter. I have Bausch & Lomb. That's what I use. Just basic eye solution. Walgreens, CVS, Publix, wherever you guys are at, whatever grocery store or pharmacy, just get saline contact lens solution. It's like $4, $5, $6 for a bottle, and this bottle will last you months for that. So again, what we do is we take the saline solution, and again, I'm gonna keep it away from my laptop. So you just kind of wet the area, wet the sponge a little bit, not just enough to saturate. Doesn't need to be dripping with water, but again, we're going to do the same thing on this one. Put a little saline. And I usually like to tap it, and if there's some water coming up, or obviously in this case saline, it means it's pretty well saturated. Maybe put a little bit more, and I'm pretty good. So those are kind of well saturated. They're kind of inflated now, hydrated, and they're filling out. Get these in there like that. Okay, so now you can see they look like actual sponges as opposed to these flat discs. So the next thing we're going to do is you guys have your headbands. You can be really cool, putting them on. Starting to wear these now again, but I remember in the 70s, I used to go out running. Remember, I had like the jogging bands and the headbands and all the Wheaties boxes and stuff like that. Anyway, I digress. So get yourself set up, and what you're going to do is let's go over the instructions on the actual device. So again, you have your battery, pop your battery in here. We have our little piece of cloth here that's going to help you get your battery in and out. Put the battery in, keep it. If you're not using this for a while, say like you're just going to put away for a month or something like that, I would take the battery out. Again, as you guys already probably know, sometimes batteries can leak and become corrosive. You don't want any battery acid leaking out inside. That could ruin your device. So if you know you're not going to be using it for like a month or so, just pop the battery out and just make sure that it stays, free. Yeah, Blaine, what do
I
you
want
got?
to throw a quick tip out there on the battery that I get questions about all the time. So see if I can get it close enough where you can see it. With the battery, when you put it in, you have to put this back end in first.
Yeah.
Or it won't go in.
Got to back it in.
This is a very common question. It's odd, but if you try to put the front first, it's so hard to see in this angle.
You're good.
It won't come in. It won't go in very well. So
Yeah.
that's just a quick tip. We've actually had some people get very frustrated, but as long as you're doing it right, it will
Can't go
work.
in head first. You got to back it in. So
Right.
just yeah, feet first, not head first. Okay. So thanks for that, Blaine. So okay, so we have our our device here. We have our power button here, right? It's our power button. We're going to press that. It's going to turn the unit on. Now what we see is these bars over here. This is one that I've been using a bit. So 3 bars means full battery, 2 bars. Once you get to 1 bar, you may want to get close to changing your battery because the output may start to diminish a little bit. So I'll usually go to 2 bars. Once you get to 1 bar, that's usually when I'm going to replace my battery. So I'll do that. And if you can see, I have it on 10 minutes. So the next function is going to be timer. Let's see if I can get a better angle here. Yep. So we can go to 20 minutes, you can go to 30 minutes, 10, 20, or 30, right? So it's going to light up. If you've never done this before, I recommend you start at 10 for the first couple days just to get used to it. 20 is fine. 30 is ultimately where you want to be, between 20 and 30 minutes. You need to have, for therapeutics, like I recommend at least a 20-minute session. 20 is good, 30 minutes. 10 is like just to get you started. But I don't think, unless it's a kid, I use it 10, we put the 10-minute setting mostly for children. Obviously, like, 4, 5, or 6-year-olds probably not going to sit that long, which is why we put the lower setting on that. Because for little kids, that's good enough. But adults, really 20 to 30 minutes is what we're talking about. And 1 time a day is fine. There's a lot of other devices that you need to do maybe 2 or 3 times a day, just because of the specifics of the frequencies of this device. It's very dialed in, as we talked about earlier on, to the retina, the optic nerve, the macula, the choroid, the entire visual system. So that's that. So what you're going to do is, now we have the play button, right? That's like on you guys remember like the CDs and stuff like that on your cars. You press that, and that starts the counter, right? We see the counter up here, 25, so that means the timer's on now. Now, once you put these on, you want to have so you should be down at 250, right? You're down there. The little arrow is going to show you where you're at, 250. And then you want to put them on and keep your finger on this up button. See, the button that's going up means that's going to increase the power. So I'll give you guys an example. So we put these down. You can either go up or down. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. We can go up or down here. And then I always see the flashing at 250. So I personally would stop here at 250. If this annoys you and you don't like the cords in your face, you can either separate them or go from the top down. So if you want to go higher, to either feel the tickle or see the little strobe flashing lights, it's like feels like a little electrical buzz. When your lights, sometimes the fluorescent lights flicker, it's going to look like that a little bit. And then you just turn it up and give it like maybe 5 or 10 seconds on the setting to see how you feel, and then go up a little bit more. So ultimately, we want to go up until we see a flash, a little bit of a flicker. It's like, or some people with progressive retinal issues or optic nerve issues may not see the flash. So don't freak out. People freak out if they don't see the flash. People with advanced or severe eye conditions, whether it's an eye stroke, macular degeneration, when it's gone pretty moderate again to advanced, you may not see the flashes, and you may not see them because the photoreceptors, there may be some damage to the photoreceptors and optic nerves. So you may just feel like a little tickle around your eyes, like a little itch, which is fine. You don't want it to be too much. We're not trying to, it's not a pain tolerance or an itch tolerance here, just enough to feel it. And again, keep your hand on it because you may feel like you have to increase it. Maybe after 5 minutes, you won't feel it as much. So then you can like pop up, even if you have to just take it off real quick and look, you may want to increase it, up one, but don't overdo it. If you overdo the stimulation, it's not going to do harm. You just may get a headache because you're really doing a lot of stimulation to the optic nerve and the whole visual system. So less is more, and again, you don't have to stay at 200. People ask often, Blaine and I were talking about this a couple of days ago. People will say, oh, well, I'm staying at 250 when they don't feel anything. Or they think they have to get up to 1,000. That's the goal. It's not the goal. The goal is to find the lowest setting that you're still getting a stimulation. So just like if it's 250, it's 250. Like when I do this a couple times a week, I will leave it at 250 because I feel it and I'm sensitive and I see the flashes and I'm good. If you need to go higher, then you go higher. And if it's 500 and you see the flashes or you feel the tickle, stay there. So again, less is more.
It's the idea of minimum effective dose, right?
Yeah.
And on that note, some people wonder, because we have some people who don't feel much stimulation at all. One of the indications that it's still working is if the machine is not connected properly, it'll actually shut itself off after 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you're using it and it shuts itself off in 2 minutes, that means that either the pads aren't moist enough, or it's not getting
enough saline.
It's not creating an electrical circuit, so it turns itself off.
Yeah.
If it keeps running.
What Blaine means by that is it's not enough skin contact. Maybe they're too loose. Maybe the headband's too tight or not tight enough. So they're just kind of like hanging on here. If these are like kind of like that, it's going to shut off because there's insufficient skin contact.
So that being said, if it's not shutting off and you're not feeling much stimulation, try to turn it up. Otherwise, it is actually working. So it won't run for more than
and you can test, you can hold them. If you're not sure, you can hold them in your hands too. That'll give you a test. You'll feel it in your hands. So that's how we have people manually test it as well. Like, oh yeah, I feel it in my hands, because your hands are pretty sensitive too.
Mm-hmm. And if it continues to do that and you hold it in your hands, that's when you would just give us a call, go on the website and order a new set of the pads.
Yep. So again, when I say I'm done, all right, it beeps. So we all know that this turns off on its own. Whatever setting you have, whether it's 10, 20, or 30 minutes, it's going to turn off. So some people are like, oh my God, if I fall asleep with it, it's fine. You may have like a little itchiness from the just from the saline, but no problems. So again, if I'm done, I finished this, I'm going to pop these out, right? Pop the sponges out. I'll rinse them. I'll disconnect these two. I'll just do a quick rinse, or maybe even just take like a paper towel, like a damp paper towel, and just wipe these down a little bit. What I will do is I'll rinse these in tap water, and I'll rinse them out, just get all the water out, and they'll stay really well. One of my Amish patients showed me that they were doing this, and I was like, this is an awesome idea. So we have a pretty big Amish population, and she was like, yeah, I keep them in the bag, and it just keeps it. She's had this for like 3 months. I was like, how'd you keep them so long? She's like, let me show you. And she showed me how she keeps them in the bag and how she has this whole ritual of cleaning them and everything. So I was like, you're awesome. Thank you so much. And then keep it in your bag, keep it in a safe place. A lot of my patients use like the old razor kits or these little, travel toiletry bags or something like that. Something to just keep it safe in. Sometimes the box gets a little bulky, so if you can, find a little something that you can keep it in. Usually in like the cosmetics departments or shaving kits or bathroom, go to Bed Bath and Beyond or something like that, or Target, and you can find, one of these types of things, or go online, even if you want to find it on Amazon. So that's that. Do you guys have any questions on the use of the device? Blaine, did I miss anything?
No, I don't think
the operation.
I don't think we missed anything on the operation. You covered that pretty well. I would say, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, we have a couple questions coming in. We're gonna, Justin had already mentioned he had some things, and Suzanne, absolutely. If you have any questions related to anything like this, is a really good time. Even if you're not sure if it's related, just ask. We'll figure that out. So Justin, you want to start? what questions you
Yeah,
have?
yeah. So I'm also seeing a local acupuncturist down here that does electroacupuncture.
Okay.
Should I be using the ACS on the same days that I'm visiting him? I usually see him in the morning. Should I do this as well at nighttime
Yeah,
or
you can
skip?
do it. Yeah, my patients when they come in for intensives, or just local patients that I'm treating for eye issues, I'll do it, and then they ask if they can go home because it's a little different. The acupuncture is going to be around. It's really going to work on the muscles and the meridian system. This is directly affecting the eye. Like really, I mean, again, that whole visual system where the acupuncture is not necessarily going to go in and affect the eyeball in that whole eye system. It's going to dilate the structures around the eyes and the muscles. So it is a little different.
Okay. And then I just
I'd
have
probably do
one more
less.
question.
I'd probably do let I'd maybe do a 20-minute session, a little bit lighter power, just because you've already had a treatment. But even if you want to skip that day, it's fine as well. I wouldn't ever. I would, if anybody said, "Hey, at acupuncture, electroacupuncture, is it a good day to skip ACS?" That's fine too. So if you want to do it, great. Um, but if you're skipping that day, I don't have a problem with that either because you're
Okay.
getting treatment.
Yeah, I just have one more question.
Sure.
So with so if you want to go for the minimum dose, I noticed when I put it on, I
Hmm.
can see it at 250, but about I'd say 45 seconds to a minute later, I start to lose that flash. So
Okay.
usually then I step up
Yeah.
and then so I'm seeing the flash again.
Yeah.
And then if I lose that flash, I'll step up and so far that's been too intense, so I'll back it back down. So
Yeah.
should we expect within that 20 minutes to lose the flash and continue at
Yes.
that same low voltage? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's still doing its thing. You just don't perceive it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just because like you're just not aware of it. So your brain is adapted to it. So it's still stimulating the eye in the same thing. It's like, so you get in the hot tub, right? You could barely get it so hot. It's like 103, 3 degrees. It's like, but after 3 minutes, your body adapts to it. It's not so bad. Same thing if you get in a cool, like go in the ocean and it's cool, it takes, 3 to 5 minutes to get used to the water temperature. So it's just the body's adaptation. So it's still working. It's still stimulating the whole system. And that's what people get confused and concerned about. They're like, oh my God, if I don't see it, it's not, it is working. Again, just because your body's not necessarily picking up noticeable impulses, which a lot of folks will, it doesn't mean that it's not working, which I think was your question.
Yes,
It's
correct.
it's still getting it. We're still stimulating it. And again, the eye is pretty delicate. The retinal tissue is very, very thin. It's like as thick as tissue paper. So we don't want to do too much. We really want a real mild stimulation when we do this because a really strong treatment that's affecting the whole nervous system directly. So
Is it
anything
safe
else?
to do? Is it safe to do if you have edema?
Yes, actually, we've had quite a few cases already with retinal edema, cystoid macular edema, CME, a lot of the different types of edema and bleeding. Retinal bleeding is totally safe as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The other thing Justin had mentioned earlier, I wasn't sure if we're recording, so I'm going to repeat it, is we were talking about the placement of the pads. So the main placement is over the eyes. Most people do okay with that. We have a couple of people that I've talked to that kind of have sensory issues, and it's just like either creates anxiety. So what we'll do is have the next best thing is to go on your forehead, like right above over here, or you can go on your temples. We've even had some people go up and down, right? Kind of do top to bottom and top to bottom. One of the things that I'm looking to do since I'm talking about this now is I'm going to play with this and I'm going to let you guys know if it works. Is I'm thinking about for some of you guys who want to experiment more with these peripherals, we're going to get some splitters. So it's basically going to take these two and make it into four. So you'll basically be able to do like 1, 2, like you'll be able to do this and this. So these are going to split these two cables into four. So you're going to have a positive negative and a positive negative. So that's something we're going to start playing around with. I'll do a video probably in January to demonstrate and show you guys how to use it. But it's not expensive to get splitter cables. I think they're like $4 or $5 or something like that. I use that at my clinic, especially when I have kids who aren't quite ready for needles yet. I'll do like above and beyond or on the eye and in the temple, or maybe some little kids who don't like to have their eyes covered. We have sometimes 4 or 5-year-old kids that 10 minutes or something of their eyes covered. They get a little freaked out sometimes, or it itches, sometimes they're sensitive. So we'll put like one on the top, one on the side. And we'll do that on both sides for kids who have like optic nerve issues, kids with Stargardts, retinitis pigmentosa, stuff like that. So placement is going to vary, and as Justin and I were talking earlier before we started, and again, I can't remember, it may actually be on here earlier, is it's going to be different for everybody. So we have this protocol where you put it directly on your eyeballs, directly over the orbit over here, but this is kind of new in terms of the volume of people that we're doing this with. So we are encouraging you guys to play around with the placement and give us feedback. Because as we hear from you guys, we want to know. You're like, hey, I kind of did this, but I really found that when I put it on my temples, it relaxed my temples, and I felt pretty good doing that. So that feedback from you guys is going to be really helpful and really useful for helping us to refine and advance and improve our protocols specific for unique conditions that you guys have. So we really appreciate your feedback. We love feedback. So any experimentation, good or bad, if you're like, hey, did this and it really didn't do much, but directly over the eye really helped. So any feedback you have, reach out to me. You can post inside our Facebook group or anything like that. It's really, really useful for us. I think is that it, Justin? Anything else? You're good?
I did, but I didn't want to consume all the time, so I was going to defer to everybody.
Give me one more.
Okay. Is it normal to have one eye see more flash than the other eye?
It is. And the reason that would be is because either optic nerve or retinal, like an eye that is damaged, either to like an eye stroke, or maybe there's more severe macular degeneration, there's going to be a interruption in the signal, so that when we have the stimulation that's hitting the eye, the reception or the transmission of that electrical impulse is not going to be as clean because some of the nerve fibers are damaged, right? So your healthier eye is going to see like really strong ones usually, and any eye that either has damage, like we were talking about Nyan, and some other optic nerve where there's pallor of the optic nerve, or if there's like a retinal stroke or something like that, there may be less stimulation, again, just because some of the nerve cells are damaged or dormant. They're just not firing the way your good eye would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I experienced. I was just confirming.
Yeah. So with that as well, some patients come into this with flashes. They have like a lot of flashes going on. So if this aggravates that just means that you're going too high in the setting. All right, so those of you guys, it also may mean you need some certain supplements to help reduce that. When you have the flashes, it could either be one of two things. Either it's like usually it's a posterior vitreous detachment, which that is something that happens with age, where the gel in our eye, excuse me, called the vitreous, is like jello, and as we age it liquefies, called liquefaction, and it turns into liquid, and it starts to tug or pull away from the retina, and we start to see these like little flashes. Usually happens around 50. People start to see that, maybe late 40s, mid 50s, but it's very common. It's because that structure, when it's in a gel form, it's expanded, and once it starts to liquefy, it starts to shrink a little bit. So with that atrophy, it's called vitreous atrophy or liquefaction, it starts to pull away and you start to get a little flash. If they're severe, we want to be careful because it could be a retinal tear or possibly a retinal detachment. So if it's anything prolonged or serious flashes, we definitely always want to get that checked out. But if you tend to have like RP or some of these eye conditions and you see a little bit of flashes, it just means that it's a hyper excitability of the nerves, either due to inflammation or oxidative stress, or just firing too much too fast. You know what I mean? Think of like a tremor or something like that. It's just too much energy being fired off by the retina. So that's creating like flash and strobe effect. So since we're on that subject, I wanted to mention that.
I have one for you, and
ahead.
you may have covered this a little bit, but let's go over how often should people use it? Should it be every day, or what's kind of the standard protocol that you recommend?
Great question. So the standard protocol is every day, if possible, 5 to 7 days. People are going to be more inclined for sure if they have, more advanced vision loss. Once you've recovered your vision, If you don't have a lot of vision loss, 3 to 4 days a week is good. Think about working out. You work out once or twice a week, not going to get in such great shape. You work out, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, you're going to be in pretty good shape. And that doesn't mean you have to work out for 3 hours a day, right? 20 minutes is enough sometimes. So think of this as giving your eyes a workout. I usually tell patients who are starting out 5 to 7 days, once you've recovered your vision and you feel like you've made some gains and subjectively and or objectively you've improved and then you've hit a plateau, 3 days a week is fine. Just 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whenever, 20, 30 minutes is good.
Have you gotten any feedback or do you have any ideas as to if it's better to do it the morning or the night? Is there time of day that makes a difference?
Yes, for different people. And what I mean by that is some people, it's stimulating, right? Because it is a stimulation of the actual brain. So that can be exciting to people's brain and help them not go to sleep so well.
Mhm.
Other people, they do it before they go to bed and it knocks them out. So everybody's different. So my response to that is to just be consistent. Find out a time that works for you. I find, and through talking with patients, that if you kind of do it the same time, like we do first thing in the morning, try to stick to that habit. Maybe weekends it changes up a little bit. If you do the stimulation in the evening, do that. Try to get that every day. Whatever your schedule is, try to schedule it. Because if you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. Initially, I even recommend people put it into their calendars, in your phones, and give maybe an alarm or something like that as a reminder to go off, because it takes about 6 weeks to create a habit. 3 weeks to start to create a habit, 6 weeks to lock it in. So the first 3 to 6 weeks, you want to really prompt yourself to do it, to create this new habit that you're doing.
And you mentioned the idea of oxidative stress and inflammation. Like across the board, is there a supplement or two that would help stave off some of those symptoms?
Well, there are. So we have our vitamins and supplements. Generally speaking, for blood flow, you're talking about things like ginkgo biloba, any of the herbal blood thinners, things like turmeric are going to help. Certainly our formulas like NeuroVision, that's the formula we use. Omega-3 DHAs, we have LipoVision. A vegan form would be something like flax oil that thins the blood a little bit. Again, because oxygenation of the tissue is another big factor. So we have inflammation, we have oxidative stress. We also have mitochondrial dysfunction, where the mitochondria start to lose their power, right? Our mitochondria are a powerhouse. So either the mitochondria are the output of energy called ATP is going to wane. So we don't have that oomph, which is also responsible for protein synthesis and repair and regeneration of the nerve cells, the choroid, the vasculature, whatever structures are trying to recover. You have to have mitochondria functioning on all 8 cylinders to make sure that they're doing what they're doing. That in the mitochondria require oxygen to function. So all this stuff kind of intertwines, right? We say oxygen, oxidative stress, but they're all interdependent. We have to have all that going at the same time. Now, the other thing that can happen with mitochondrial dysfunction is quantitatively inside the cells, there can be less actual quantities of mitochondria, right? So as Blaine indicated with our supplements, we want to help improve the blood flow and get the oxygenation in the vital nutrients to the tissue. So that's where we use like NeuroVision, the Total Vision formula. Total Vision is your eye food formula, but you have to dilate the blood vessels in order to get it there, right? If you have constricted blood vessels due to inflammation or poor circulation or damage, or clogged or constricted blood vessels, it's going to have a hard time of getting the food and the nutrients to the eyes, because the choroid is the smallest micro vessels, or smallest blood vessels rather, in the body. So we really want to work to help dilate them and make sure that the nutrients are getting there. For oxidative stress, there's a couple of nutrients we talk about. One is carotenoid antioxidants, vitamin A, lutein, zeaxanthin, astaxanthin, mesozeaxanthin, leafy green vegetables, carrots, so on and so forth. For glutathione is also another fantastic antioxidant, where you can take liposomal glutathione or NAC. N-acetylcysteine is a precursor to glutathione. That's very helpful. And then finally, molecular hydrogen. We have our molecular hydrogen tablets, which is an amazing antioxidant source. So those are different ways to deal with the oxidative stress. Of course, reducing like smoking and alcohol and caffeine and any like junk, environmental stress, pollution, a clean diet, all these things are going to facilitate, accelerate oxidative stress. And that's it. And all those things, well, you keep the oxygen, the molecular hydrogen, and the vital nutrients are going to help keep the mitochondria working, as is the ACS. The ACS is definitely a mitochondrial boost. So with the ACS, we're dealing with the neurovascular system and the mitochondria. So the nerves are going to be stimulated, bring them out of dormancy, keep them functioning, dilate the blood vessels, support the vascular system, guide the stem cells to the eyes, help with cellular respiration, cellular metabolism, and then ultimately help keep the mitochondria where they need to do so we can repair and regrow new cells.
Does anybody else have questions?
And you got some questions for me? Let's unmute you. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, so for my situation,
Yeah.
I've got central serous retinopathy, and so it's been going on since 2018, and it'll, swell and go away. But now it's only my left eye. It's never happened in my right eye. But now pretty much I can see 20/30, and but I want to get better. Then I want to try to get back to 20/20 because 20/30 is not that far from 20/20.
Nope, 2 lines.
So do you have patients that have central serous retinopathy that are in my shoes? That first of all, let me say this first. I know every person's different, and I know one person may get it back and the other person for whatever reason. But have you seen it help certain patients?
I have. I'm very intimately connected with CSR. Is my wife actually had it. She developed it. That's how I first learned about 15 years ago. She started developing it out of nowhere. And so, yes, I know it very well. I've studied it. A lot of the research that I've done, including ACS, including hydrogen and some of the other therapies, were developed as a result of trying to help my wife not lose her sight. It was very, very scary. She had it in both eyes, and she had. Have you seen your OCTs recently? Do you know if there's any fluid present? Or is the fluid
my fluid had gone away. I know there's some back. I can tell because I've had it so many times. I haven't been because maybe I'm over the top. I don't know, but I'm concerned about getting my eyes dilated.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that can be over time get going in, because when you get started with a retina specialist, they want you to come in every 3 to 4 weeks, and you're getting dilated again and go back. And so I'm concerned that can be damaging to my eye. I don't know if it can or not.
It can, especially when they're sensitive like that. It can.
And I'm very sensitive. In fact, one time they put a drop in my eye, and my left eye was dilated for 4 days, and it wouldn't go down.
Whoa, that's a lot, man. Yeah, might have been too
very
much.
Concerned. And and so I would like to. I don't know any doctors in my area that I could go see that could. I have been to one doctor, and he had the machine that would take the picture of the back of the eye. I don't know if you've heard of him, Dr. Tennant.
Yeah, I know exactly who he is.
He did not dilate my eye. He did not, but most doctors, they don't want to do anything unless they dilate your eye.
Yeah.
So here
we get to bill for it, but they have the new scanners that you don't have to dilate, and they're not as good, but you can get a pretty good retinal image from that. So a couple things. One is we know that inflammation, oxidative stress definitely drive the fluid. It's like an edema. So the fluid leaks from the blood vessels. It often has a lot to do with blood sugar. Dysglycemia can contribute to it, as well as lymphatic congestion. So holistically, things like lymphatic drainage, skin brushing or stuff like that, or even, especially on the carotid areas to get that cleared up. look at checking your cortisol levels. Your saliva cortisol levels are pretty important because a lot of these CSR conditions are related to elevated cortisol. And for $100, you can do an easy saliva test. Send it in. You could do them online. We do them through our office. Like there's a million companies online that you could do. You literally probably go to Amazon and order one of these test kits for $100. Send it in, and they given you, if you want me to help you interpret it, they do really good job at interpreting it. But it can tell you if there's adrenal stress, adrenal fatigue, what's going on with that, which will give you some insight. Not always, but often there are adrenal issues. There can be pituitary issues. There can be thyroid issues. There can be blood sugar issues. All these dysregulations of the hormone system and the vascular system often contribute to this. Emotional stress, not sleeping, stimulants, alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, anything that's pro-oxidative and pro-inflammatory can aggravate it. So I'll tell you what we use with my wife. So my wife uses the ACS. She obviously gets acupuncture when she feels like it. She uses the MSM eye drops. She uses we actually have, she's in the office now doing the molecular hydrogen goggles. Yep.
That your eye drops, the MSN?
The MSM eye drops, yeah. Yeah, we have those. And what that does is it softens things up a little bit. It softens to help the tissue a little bit.
Okay.
So again, so just to kind of zoom out on that. So we look at something like retinal edema and we want to treat it. You know, you go to the eye doctors, they're either going to, you know, try to give you an injection or maybe a glaucoma drop. So look, I have a buddy who also has it, a good friend of mine, and the Eylea injections work great for him. So he does it, and that's fine. That's rare. I know a lot of people who don't. Then they'll try the laser, even medications like glaucoma eye drops or Diamox, which is a diuretic. So I've heard it all and seen it all, what they do for this stuff. The thing with the meds too is your body will build up a tolerance and they won't work after a while. So this is why I'm saying this, is because it's really important to get to the source of what's driving this. And once you figure that out, like with my wife, it was blood sugar. Like she's not diabetic, but she tends towards insulin resistance. And when she inflames, and she was doing a lot more coffee as well. So she's on stimulants, which also is going to affect her blood sugar and raise her insulin levels. When the insulin levels raise, that triggers inflammation and creates more fluid buildup in the body. Too much salt, if your blood pressure goes up, that can contribute to it. So again, you have 10 cases of people with macular edema. We got to look, yes, we want to work on the macular edema, but I got to talk to each individual person and find out what's going on underneath it that's driving it. Again, some people's blood sugar, some people could have thyroid issues, some people could be adrenal dysfunction, some people could just be local inflammation, some people could be food allergies, some people have migraines that's causing it, some people are on screens 15 hours a day and they don't use blue light protected glasses. So again, we want to really look at we call root and branch. So the branch is the edema or whatever conditions, macular degeneration, retinitis pigmentosa, eye stroke, whatever. But we also want to look at the underlying cause that's driving it. What caused this? You know, so we have to put on our, Sherlock Holmes hat and do some investigative work to really figure out what's going on. Otherwise, it's going to come back. Like even with the ACS, that's why we encourage people to do telehealth consultations, email me, post in the group about your condition. Because look, you guys haven't figured it out yet. We do quasi-free consultations inside our group. You guys post a condition, you ask questions. We're usually there. Again, we don't know intimately what's going on with your condition. If you want a deeper dive, we'll do a telehealth. But that's what the group is for. You guys post what conditions you have. Hey, I have glaucoma, I have macular degeneration. I get it. You know, it's a big deal to come out to New Jersey. And just for whatever reason. So this is our first lay of trying to help you guys get sense and direction so that you guys can help it out. And guess what? If you ask a question about glaucoma or NAN, or you have macular edema, guess what? There's guaranteed there's 20 more people in the group that have the same thing going on that just didn't ask for whatever reason. So you're not only helping yourself, you're probably helping a lot of other people as well.
Okay. So I would be very interested in a telehealth.
Yeah. So
Because
you could
I believe I've been thinking that more so not in 2018, but as it's continued, I'm like, there's something driving.
Something
this.
going on that we got to figure
I
out.
get acupuncture, and
Yeah.
so
It helps. Acupuncture will help, but even with acupuncture, if you don't get to what's going on, look, it may even be in some cases where it's going to be recurrent, but at least we can manage it. So like the flare-ups, so to say, it could be autoimmune causing it. That we just manage it so it's not really extreme or really, you don't lose and manage the scar tissue that can come out of the frequent swellings that create scar tissue. So again, these are all things that can be helpful. The ACS is going to help. The supplements are really, really important as well. And again, if you guys want to post questions, those of you guys who are watching at home, we encourage you to do that. The more engagement we get, the more it's for you guys. Like the Facebook groups we have and all this stuff is for you guys. So the more you use it, the more you're going to get out of it. And again, if you want to go a step further, like Suzanne and I were just talking about, and you want a deeper dive specific to your condition and you want to kind of go one-on-one, then we can absolutely do that. Just reach out to my office. You can call 908-928-0060. Blaine's going to give you guys that information at the end of the talk. And just call our office. We could book a telehealth, and we do about an hour, and we sit, and you guys, fill out a questionnaire so they get like an overview of what's going on with your condition. And then we'll sit. I'll ask you a bunch of questions, and then we'll come up with a game plan. And it's a great way to really, really get clarity on your specific condition, not only in terms of a treatment strategy, but really a really solid understanding of what's causing it.
right.
And sometimes we have to do follow-up. Like example, on our first, we'll do we'll go through stuff, and they'll say, okay, I want to do this, this, and this test. Then you'll go get those testing done, and then we can review it, go over it, so that we can kind of close it up and lock in your long-term treatment plan.
Sounds good.
Great. Blaine, anything else that you can think of that we should jump into? I think we covered a lot of stuff in this session.
Yeah, I think we did a good job. We have a few other people on here. If you have a question, now's your time to unmute and ask your question.
Yes, love to hear from you.
And I like your analogy of getting in the group and posting, because there are other people, for whatever reason, as humans, we're weird that way. We won't ask the question, but we know 6 other people also have the same question.
Yeah, and now that the anonymous function, so you can even,
Yeah.
you can post in Facebook without it being anonymous.
I do have one. So when you're doing the treatment with ACS,
yeah,
should you be doing anything with your eyes or not doing? And so I'd consider, like, should I be doing some of the Qigong eye exercises, or should I just be sitting there, or should I have them rolled back or down forward? Should I be
just relax?
Should I do anything with the eyes? Okay.
Just relax. I usually tell people put music on, audiobook. It's a good time to meditate.
Okay.
Focus on your breathing. So eye Qigong exercise, I would do those separate, but not necessarily while you're getting your ACS done.
Okay.
Great question, Justin. Thank you for asking that. Anything coming in, Blaine? I can't see the questions.
I think that's it.
And again, we're gonna, one of the places we're gonna post this again is inside our Facebook group. We're gonna put it on our YouTube channel. So you guys watching this on replay, feel free to comment or reach out to us. Open discussions, make posts as well. And you guys do. Suzanne and Justin, if anything comes up as a result of this, this little session we're doing here, feel free to follow up with questions or comments and post in the group, or reach out to me as well.
Great.
All right, guys. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, Blaine. Thank you, as always, for being my spectacular producer and putting this together for us. Again, any of you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We have in-home, at-home treatments. We have in-office treatments. Go to Eye Health Institute to learn more about the at-home services. You can use our YouTube page for your self-education. We have about 180 videos there, a lot of which are testimonials and patient education. Join our Facebook group and reach out to us. We're very easy. I always like talking to patients. If we think we can help, we'll tell you. If we don't, we'll tell you. So you guys have a great weekend. I hope everybody has great holidays. Enjoy, spend time with your family and your loved ones, and everybody make sure you get some downtime and relax. And we'll see you soon. Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great night. Bye-bye.